So, oh, I can just sit here and talk. So let's look at some of the other things that might have some influence in what scientists have examined. And I'm not going to discuss all of them because I'd really like to get to questions and answers as soon as possible. We've already talked about twin studies, and so I'd like to go to another one, which I found particularly interesting, and is gender-conforming behavior. This study was done starting with children who were in lower grades of elementary school. And what it was based on is pediatricians, teachers, and parents can quite easily pick out male children, I'm only talking about male homosexuality here, as being effeminate. Well, they get labeled as sissies when they're in school. And so this study got the pejorative name of the Sissy Boy Study. Okay, so what they did is they identified a large number of these sissy boys. How did they do it? To make it objective, they had to meet 10 different criteria to be put into the study. I'll give you an example of just one of the criteria. Sissy boys don't involve in rough and tumble play, but the sissy boys, but the other boys do. Okay, so that was one way of distinguishing one from the other. Okay, so they identified these boys in early elementary school. They then followed them to age 18 and found that the particular behavior pattern we're talking about was one of the most stable characteristics found in human nature. In other words, at age 18, they were still identified as being sissy boys, have been all their life. Okay, any trait that persists from the time of early elementary school to 18 years of age, says, hey, that sticks around. That's amazing. The most amazing thing after all of this is that when they interviewed the boys and asked them, what is your sexual orientation, 80% said, I'm gay. We don't know about the others. Perhaps they didn't want to reveal, but just the same, 80% said something. Well, how about our old stereotype? Oh yes, you can tell, and the kids can mock it. They can say, oh, he's so gay. And yes, there is something that indeed effeminate boys, many of them are gay. But is that true of all gay people? And it's not. A very large proportion of them pass perfectly as straight people. My partner Paul and I always passed as being straight individuals. Never did I get any flack about that whatsoever. Okay, so that's another suggestion. The interesting thing, in addition to this, is a lot of parents say, when did you first notice this? They said, well, my boy was 2. I know a person particularly who was talking about her son and what happened with that boy. She says, as soon as he could walk, he put on my shoes, put on my dress. I went traipsing around the house and I couldn't get him out of those clothes. And that went on for the rest of his life. And so she had the clue right then and there, and yes, he was gay. Okay, here is another one that I think is rather interesting, and then I'm going to leave it at that. And it has to do with the fact that we have, oh, by the way, with this gender-conforming behavior, it was confirmed in 14 other studies done in various countries around the world. Okay, another study that has also been confirmed widely across the whole planet, just about, was first done by Blanchard and Casson. And in this study, they observed that if a boy had one older brother, the probability of being gay was 2% greater than if there was an older sister, or if there wasn't any older children at all. And what was very interesting is, for each older brother, it goes up 2%. Well, I have 3 older brothers, so I guess that put me ahead by 6%. Okay, so there is something absolutely going on. Now, how do you explain this, and how do you do the experiment? The thing is, it's not possible to do experiments on embryos if you fetuses that is just beyond all ethics possible. Scientists can suggest perhaps a mechanism, and the suggested mechanism is this. The baby's developing produces certain chemical substances that are directed by their DNA or their genes. And those substances go to the baby's brain and sexualize the brain. We know what part of the brain it is. It's found in the hypothalamus. Okay, but those same chemicals, probably proteins, go across the membrane, send it into the mother's blood. Well, it's an antigen to her immune system, and she builds antibodies against it. Now this is if it leaks across the membrane. Okay, next boy comes along. What happens? She has antibodies against the very substance that sexualizes his brain. And so what happens is it comes back and fouls up the mechanism in some way and alters the sexual orientation. One last thing, and that is there have been numerous studies done with animals in which the scientists have been able to manipulate the sexual orientation of a wide variety of mammals, anywhere from rats to goats. And they can change the sexual orientation by manipulating the hormones during the development of the embryo and fetus. Something no one should ever do, of course, with a human baby. What that suggests is the sexualization of the brain probably happens during the time that the fetus is developing. And there are many things that possibly could go wrong in that process of sexualizing the brain. And just to summarize all of this, we have various kinds of evidence that points in the direction of the cause of homosexuality. Do we really know? Absolutely not. It's mostly mystery. How good is the evidence? I don't think it's terribly great. It simply points in that direction. I think it might be important for this reason. It would be nice if the Mormon Church would acknowledge, oh my goodness, there is some scientific evidence that indeed homosexuality has a biological origin. Okay, and this might be useful for argument, and that's what I'm talking about. But when we finish here, I'd like you to just consider this one ethical question. We've been talking about individuality, and people should acknowledge their own individuality. How does it hurt someone else if this person is attracted to the same sex? How does it hurt anybody else? Next, the other thing is, what if this person chooses to love another person of the same sex and form a relationship with them for life? What's the big deal with that? How does it destroy family? How does it affect other people? And here we keep saying that it destroys family, it destroys family. Paul and I sit down and say, well, I wonder whose family we decided we decimated tonight, and we've never been able to answer that question because we don't quite know which ones we did. So maybe you can help me find out which families we decimated. Okay, I'm now going to turn the time over to Paul, and something I just realized is this comes out of the Paul, and if you want to, well,